This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram. I'm getting excited now. Follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I say and. You can email the show on our new email address. You might remember a reader texted in the other week and said, how come all the Absolute Radio shows have their own email address and you just use the company one? Well, it took us 12 years to work that out. So thank you, whoever that was, thank you. We now have Frank at absoluteradio, all one word, .co.uk. Frank at absoluteradio.co.uk. You send that, you get right through the Absolute company filter straight to us.
I'm glad of that. I for a little moment there, I thought it was going to be something really amateur sounding, like, you know, Frank on the radio at BT Internet or something.
I've still got a BT Internet one.
I know, I've heard it awkward.
No, that's all. Yeah, I like those. And then people where it's just gmail.com and you think, make an effort.
I like it when someone said to me once...
Don't give me that email that you don't like very much. That, your second email is what you've given me there.
I have the second email for people. You know, I liked it when someone said to me once, you can contact my agent, So it's Charisse at Tesco.
Come
on,
no.
You can't have at Tesco for an agent.
Still, every little. So look, we got Al, we got a gift for you. Do you remember? Do you remember Odysseus Constantine? No? Well, he works for Art and Hue, which is based in Eastbourne, and they make prints, Prints, not prints, obviously. And we've been sent... I've been sent a Laurel and Hardy print, because I love Laurel and Hardy.
Lovely.
One thing that's happened is that Emily Dean is now the football guy on the show because she's top of her fantasy league.
Still top,
What's it called, that league? Comedians FPL.
Still top this week.
And also she is the bringer of the laddiest of the humour of the three of us.
Do you think so?
Oh, I hope so.
No, I'm just messing about.
Well, I think, if I remember the quote correctly, the best thing about being a woman is the prerogative to have a little fun. So I think we have to observe that. That's their prerogative, apparently. We got some sort of back seat in the on the fun train.
What do you think? You Elvis or something?
We're in the quiet compartment on the fun train, whereas...
what happened? Do you know Shania, whose song That Is From? I believe, Frank.
Yes.
She was very good at rocking a long coat with a mini. And it's a brave look. Not everyone gets
she did, but she looked great.
Oh, she looked
I interviewed her. She was very, very nice. And you, Al, have been sent...
Oh, yeah, what did I get?
Well, it's here. It's a map of Scotland with Scottish actors on it. And, because you're born in Scotland, obviously. I'm hoping they've been placed exactly where they're from, but I have no evidence of that. But as a par example, there's Alistair Sim, David McCullum, formerly Ilya Kuryakin, of The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Lovely.
Fulton Mackay from Porridge, and a woman who I had one of my first ever crushes on. My child crush. We may think that doesn't exist, but sure does.
Oh, is that Thora Hird?
Oh, it was... she was later.
Jimmy Cranky.
Amy MacDonald. Do you remember Amy MacDonald? I mean, it was very Route 1, leggy blonde, but I was a child. I hadn't developed my sort of director's cut approach to attraction.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We've heard from 378, and it includes something that I'd like to clarify. They say
is it
I've
butter?
Still got. Yeah, very good. They say I've still got a BT internet address. Too much of a pain to change that now.
Yes. Well, I've had mine since the beginning of emails.
I mean, I don't
Yes.
think we were making fun of that internet provider so much as just businesses that still have that
Yes.
as their address.
Yes,
So,
yes.
like when you see a leaflet and it says, you know, Wowzer dog walkers or whatever, but then the address is, you know, Janice at BT Internet.
Yeah, or an accountant saying at Waitrose.com. I just,
Yes,
you know, I have
exactly.
questions.
It takes
Yeah.
me back to that grand land grab when people started buying domain names. Do you remember that? Oh, I've got to get
Yes.
my domain name.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? No, it's just
Well,
at
there was cyber
gmail.com.
squatters, wasn't there?
Well, that was, you know what?
When
It's
did
when
email
people needed-
start? Do you know,
What? Yes, I do.
when?
No, I don't know the exact
I must
date.
phone my gardener. You know, in case you weren't listening last week, my gardener, Greg, told me that the craze for garden offices began in 2012. What about that?
Do you ever think back? I do sometimes think back to when was I going online regularly? When was the internet a thing?
Well,
I do always think. You see, the Millennium. Do you remember the 2K bug, the Millennium
Oh,
bug that
Oh,
never
yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I got so excited. about
planes
that.
were going to drop out the sky.
I know.
Oh,
I
you know, some people will now complain saying the reason it never happened
Oh,
is
no,
that geeks worked really hard and they think that we were lucky.
Oh.
I disagree, but whatever.
Well, Frank's on the side of the geeks.
Yeah, but I think we might have been like. See, that was it. I just missed starring in the Doctor Who spin-off Class because they brought in the writer Patrick Ness and he poo-pooed me. And all, not just me, just all older people. But maybe we just dodged planes dropping out the sky. So it's, you know, it's like a slalom. You know, some of those wobbly poles you hit, and some of them you just go straight past.
What a great way to see it.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't seem to make much difference when they hit a wobbly pole, does it? It's a bit like they've gone very corner flag, the whole
Yeah.
thing. There's no solidity. I remember when corner flags were like this.
Yeah.
You didn't want to slide into one of them babies.
Yeah. Be good on absolute 80s, this.
It would.
Yeah.
It is on absolute 80s in an hour's time.
So would some of my. Can I just say on my my football picture that I've been sent?
Oh, yes.
What's lovely is there's a theme to it, and it's great football tashes.
Yes.
So there's all sorts. There's Ruth Hullett, there's Ian Rush, etc.
Soonest.
Yes, I think Soonest does get a look in one of my faves.
I hope so.
What I would say is I hope he sent this to me due to my love of football and that it's not because...
Not as a hint.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't think that's right. Don't get out the Veet on the strength of that. Also, but I've
There's a
noticed
lot of strength in Veet, let me
some
tell you.
of them don't have moustaches, and that's made me think it's actually...
What, middle-aged women?
It's a no, all of them. No, some of those footballers don't.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a hair montage. He hasn't even noticed. He hasn't even noticed the moustaches. They're just there as an addendum.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We have heard from John Hopkins, who is one of our regulars.
Hopkins.
I love Hopkins.
Okay.
He's congratulating you. When you announced the email address, you played our very own email address, you played one of your little jingles. And John Hopkins says, cracking use of the Umpire band to announce the new email address.
Yes, it's from that. I think it was a 60s British film, Those Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines. Do you want to hear it one more time, Hoppo?
Yeah.
Those magnificent men. That's how it continues.
Hoppo adds, a friend of mine registered at a new dentist years ago and had to give his email, which he'd not changed since he'd been promoted to assistant butcher at Asda when he was 18. Meet God, meatgod99 at AOL.com. I'm assuming you subsequently changed it.
I think Meat God is that's all right. I'm happy with that.
But you know what's rather tragic? Meat God 99. There are 98 other meat gods.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there may be even more. He might be mid-table. Meat God in the Meat God League. It sounds like a sponsor, doesn't it? There probably could be a Meat God League somewhere just outside Margate.
We've also heard from... We had a couple of people get in touch about this. Al, did you know this?
Have they gone on the new email?
No.
They have they? What you mean? Our new email?
Yeah.
Which,
what is it?
Producer like lightning with that call. You mean Frank at absoluteradio.co.uk, Al?
Yeah. if you
Oh,
want.
that one, yeah.
Callum, is it Buchan, you say? B-U-C-H-A.
Yeah, well, John Buchan.
Buchan, I would say. Well, I'm going to our Scottish correspondent, Frank.
In the FA Cup final when Man United won, their captain was Martin Buchan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
John Motson said, and Martin Buchan climbs the 39 steps to the royal box, and apparently he had counted them and there were 39 and he couldn't believe. You know that thing now when a joke really comes together? When you write something, you think, oh God, I can't believe this has worked out.
Actually, can we bookmark that thought? Because I'd like to come back to that. Yeah.
I'm writing it down. I'm
39
writing it down. Joke comes together.
39 steps, what it refers to, is a bit of a big mo, I feel, that.
Well, you remember when I had to ask my PA on an email.
Oh, that was
on
one
my
of the
BT
relatable
Connect.
moments you had, yeah.
Yeah, I asked her loads of questions about stuff. What time is this, and when's the car coming for all that stuff? And I wrote so many questions at the end. I just put what are the 39 steps, and she wrote all the answers, and then she wrote at the end. What is the 39 steps related to? And she just took it completely straight.
She probably thought it was
It's my
one
own
of-
fault. It's my own fault. It's me being smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably thought it was
Alec.
a Dave panel show or something.
Nobody likes a smart Alec.
Yeah.
We've all had enough of experts, as I think Govey said. What's his first name? Michael.
Michael.
I wanted to say Martin Gove. I've got Martin Buchan into my head. Things are so I'm having nominativeness.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I was listening to Al Reid this morning on the way in.
Oh,
Do you know
me?
Al Reid?
I thought it was my talking book that I've
Oh, yeah, that would be good if I was actually listening to you read.
I thought Frank's grammar had just gone out the window.
Yeah.
Al Reid, not at her age.
Oh.
Al Reid was an old comic. Well, he obviously was a young comic before that,
Yeah.
chronology. And he was a very famous British comic. I remember him as a kid. And you always think that those old British comics just did, two blokes went into a pub. But he was a very sort of modern. He did observational comedy. And on the radio this morning, I don't know what station it was, but they preceded it with, if I had a talking picture of you. And then the presenter said, I wish I knew more about flying, but I know a man who does. And then it went to a comedy routine by Al Reid, right? And there was a thing in it that really made me laugh. Because he did an announcement from Air France, and he obviously couldn't speak French, but he spoke in a sort of a pretend French. And the announcement went, they had a little bit of echo to make it like sound like an airport. China, Dusseldorf, and Haywards Heath. And I just thought that's really well chosen, the three. Do you know what I mean, Al?
Yeah.
It's good. Haywards Heath got a very good comic rhythm at the end. Now, you were just saying that thing about when a joke comes together. So what were you on about?
Well, I'm not sure if this will become a feature like Stony Ground used to be.
When a joke comes together, I like the idea of it.
Like when a child is born.
You used to do like a discussion of jokes that fell on stony ground.
I did.
We had that as a runner, I think it would be called, a running theme of the show. I've almost got the reverse. I wondered if you ever have what I recently had, where you think a joke is so obvious it's almost not worth telling, and then you do it and you're surprised that it works. I'm going to give you an example. I did a gig in a place in Yorkshire which is spelled Holme, but pronounced home.
Yeah.
And on the way in, there's a sign saying home, twinned with whatever, these places are twinned with a European city or village or something. And I said, I was surprised to see the sign saying that it was twinned with somewhere, because I thought there was no place like home.
Lovely joke.
No, I think that's
Big
a fine
laugh.
joke.
Lovely
I
joke.
thought it was rubbish and that they'd driven past that sign every day and thought it for 20 years.
No, but they've probably heard a lot of home jokes. But that one, it's from the top drawer. Do you know what I mean? It's got all the corners sheared off, and it's got a nice finish.
Shocked I was. I tell you that
it's been enamelled. That one has. It's finished off.
How unfunny are these people driving past that sign and not thinking it every day? That's what I had to ask them. That was when I lost the gig.
When I was on the comedy carpet at Birmingham, at Blackpool. A few weeks ago, I noticed a joke. I don't know who it was by, but I'm saying this is not my joke. I read it from the comedy carpet. And it was...
we should tell people in case they don't know. That's the sort of Hollywood Walk of Fame, except it's in Blackpool.
Yes, exactly.
So it's just quite a finite source of material for this show.
Yeah, it's just a long, loads of jokes. And Cat, there's an enormous get out of that, a sort of old Eric Morecambe thing. Anyway, someone says... I can't remember what town they were criticising, but that might be a good thing. And it says I was in blah, 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 by looking at the signs. It's not twinned with anyone, but it's in a suicide pact with Dagenham. I did think that was a very fine... someone will know whose joke that is. Like I say, I emphasise it's not mine. I'm not joke stealing. I'm just reading from the carpet. Something I used to do a lot in the 80s. I was down there.
Good heavens.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I was watching the news the other day and Nicholas Witchell came on. You know Nicholas Witchell, the royal correspondent?
Was he the one that Prince Charles referred to as the...
I don't know. Can we say that?
No, we can't. I paused. I was going to say these. I was going to pause and say people.
People, yes. Mm-hmm. We probably can say it, but I mean, Ron Weasley says it in a children's film. But anyway, he doesn't actually say that. But he says the B word. Anyway, Nicholas Witchell did a rant, did a TV rant, a bit like those... Do you remember those ones that Charlie Brooker used to do, those long, right?
Yeah.
It was like that, and it was about the palace not keeping him informed about the Queen's health. The Queen not very well at the moment, God bless her. But anyway, he was on about that. And he said, and this is why rumours begin, and because I was not kept fully informed, the palace giving me I thought, mind your own business, Witchell. Not a proper journalist, the royal correspondent. That's just below the bloke that does the horoscopes. And way below the man who does that little chess section in newspaper. You know, the chess section with an example of a game from the past. I love that. I don't play chess, but I'm glad that exists, the chess.
Yeah, me too.
What about crossword compiler with celebrity picture in the centre?
Oh, yeah.
What about if I was on the radio saying there's an old lady near me and her family haven't her family haven't told me about, didn't tell me she had a cold, or I'd have gone and got her some mind your own business. Royal correspondent. I mean, who cares if that stops? Anyway, So perhaps I'm being unfair on...
Oh, no, I think I've checked the handbook, and Absolute Radio are all in favour of medical privacy. That's
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
Got it
because
right here.
the stable, your top three RCs would be Witchell, Bond.
Yeah.
I feel like there was another one as well.
This is royal correspondence rather than Roman Catholics, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you what the Witchell thing was. The whole subtext was she'd be nothing without me.
Yeah.
That's where he was coming from, honey.
Know your place in the food chain, Nick.
Exactly. I discovered her, and now she has turned against me. No, it's the Queen, Nick. You're a bit player, mate. Awful.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane, by the way. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or you can email the show. I like it. Frank at absoluteradio.co.uk. And this is the thing people don't often say now. All lowercase. Still around.
As Anthony Moss has pointed out, have Absolute finally decided you can stick around for a bit?
Well, I wouldn't want to hang my coat on that certainty. What with the Rage Art coming out this week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's just see how it goes.
All right.
Oh, tell you what we're talking about.
And also your Nicholas Witchell rant could be one of those things that gets you cancelled.
Well, Witchell's got friends in high places. Or he thought he had.
has.
Turns out they're slightly lower places than he thought he had
Well,
friends.
Ian Stuart Dootson, who's one of our regulars, has got in touch to say at least bit player Nicholas Witchell's obsession with the Queen will stand him in good stead when he does devote time to compiling chess problems on the inside back page.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah,
very
very
good. Thank you.
Well, when he
ISD.
retires, presumably he'll be one of those pensioners. You know those old age pensioners who have pictures of the Queen and the royal family up in their homes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be doing it in dartboard form because he'll feel that his career had been quashed by lack of communication. Out in the cold.
You were talking about Amy MacDonald earlier.
Yes, Amy MacDonald's on a poster that Alan has been sent of famous Scottish actors and celebrity.
It's lovely. I've spotted Gordon Jackson, who was always
Oh,
one of
yes.
my crushes, actually.
Oh, was he? Well, Amy MacDonald, as I said, was one of my crushes when I was, really a child, when she was in black and white British satire on the telly.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, everyone.
Well, Peter Robertson from Findon Valley, which is in Sussex, has got in touch saying, "Dear Frank, I had the good fortune to interview and photograph your early crush, Amy MacDonald, for the Scottish Mail on Sunday in 2016. Attached is the article and a photo I took. I have now texted Amy
Oh, my
and
goodness.
told her to tune in.
Oh, no.
I do
Wow.
hope you hear from her. Best wishes, Peter."
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate, but she looks fantastic on the photograph, I must say. I mean, things might have gone terribly wrong since 2016. Was it 2016? No,
Yeah.
she looks great. I just remember her as being the sort of, the archetypal dream woman. I was little, though. I was little.
Well, she's 79.
Oh, she'll hate you for that.
No, she won't. There's no to look like that.
But dancers, you
Fantastic.
see, I was doing this morning.
They don't lie anymore.
Now, I was doing this morning, and Sid Charisse was on the show. Remember him?
Yes.
And Sid Charisse was a female film star dancer. And I said, and I never do this, I said, can you introduce me to Sid Charisse? And they said, well, we'll ask if it's okay. And then she said, yeah, she's happy. And I went into her dressing room. She was 80, and her back was absolutely straight as an ironing board. Brilliant. You know that?
lovely.
And I said, oh, my God, your posture's amazing. And she said, you're a dancer. And you see, dancers. Yeah. Yeah, so there you go.
Another Nicholas Witchell contribution we have from Daniel Skipsey. Fun fact. My
Okay.
mum sold a book on the royal family to Nicholas Witchell on eBay a few years ago.
Wow.
That's probably what started him off. This was his early prep. He heard the job was coming up.
It was only a few years ago. I want to say it's a bit late for him to be buying books on the royal family a few
He should
years ago.
Surely he should be writing them. Unless he was just crossing out the name on the front, writing Nicholas Witchell to impress people. How long has he's been the RC, Witchell? It's been around a long time.
Is this the official RC for...
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a silly old job, isn't it, though? It is, though. I mean, what a thing to get angry about, the palace not keeping you informed.
I'll tell you when they like it, when they get very busy. When there's a child born,
Yeah.
they like it. They're always outside that street in Paddington.
Yeah, they must hate the town crier. You know, the unofficial town crier who turns up at the Lindo wing. They must hate him for getting in the way of their serious reporting.
Run down off that ladder.
Oh, man. You know, there was a time when Cromwell was leading a sort of revolution against it, but Nicholas Witchell's thing is shouting about not being able to see the Queen's doctor's reports, for goodness sake.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Okay, are we ready, everyone?
Okay.
It's the time in the show that I'm going to call bead time.
Okay.
We have had a number of people get in touch because bead...
We should say the Venerable Bede,
Yeah.
who was a writer in the 9th century, who it's what we know, most of our knowledge of Anglo-Saxon England, we get it from his ecclesiastical history of England.
And Frank's rather obsessed by him to the extent...
Great important man.
Yeah. Yeah, to the extent, I know he's important, but you love him so much. We got you a T-shirt with
A sweatshirt,
a
in fact.
sweatshirt.
Yeah, and I have pictures of me touching his tomb, as it were.
Didn't you go to Bede World as a day out?
I did. I went to Bede World. It was great. Quotes from Bede. I mean, not actual recordings of him, but recordings of an actor being him.
Yes, and I did ask Frank whether there was bead merch available.
There was some. Well, as you say,
Bede cushion.
there was a bit of Bede.
Oh, lovely.
Bead curtain.
Yeah, very good.
But he's called the Venerable Bede, isn't he?
Yeah.
Commonly referred to.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
his
Venerable.
Yeah. Oh God, he was venerable. There's a
One of his main traits. I think.
Sometimes in quiz he comes up Bede, animal, vegetable, animal, venerable, or mineral. Sorry, I've messed it up. But you know what? We can always get it when we do the actual show instead of the rehearsal.
Yes.
That'll be fine.
Well, it's nice. You see, yeah, he's the other much revered VB. There are two.
Yeah.
There's two venerable Bedes.
Well, there's
No,
Victoria
Victoria
Beckham.
Beckham.
Oh,
Sits
Victoria Beckham
in
and the venerable
VB
Bede. I
chair
wonder-
normally.
There can't be many other occasions when the venerable Bede's in the same Venn diagram as Victoria Beckham.
Well, that's our show for you.
There was that time she did a catwalk full of smocks, wasn't
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I also imagine if he's probably a thin man, the venerable Bede.
there? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. His life was given over to ecclesiastical study.
Although Thomas Aquinas clinically obese. You heard it here first. Anyway,
about him.
what's the Bede news?
What's the bead? Well, I always thought it was one of your funny niche things, but it turns out bead has gone mainstream.
Oh.
Callum Buchan, who you may...
Callum Best, I thought you was going to
No,
say.
Callum
is
Buchan.
playing the venerable Bede in a British movie.
A biopic of
Max
Bede.
Beasley as Cuthbert, Saint Cuthbert. Go on, carry on.
Who's playing Mrs. Bede? Was there a Mrs. Bede?
No, he's a monk.
Oh,
No, there was an old Ma Bede, but she handed him over to the monastery when he was a child, small child. Just
Well,
a
so that
small
would have been a
child.
nice part. Old Marbeed, Miriam Margolis as Old Marbeed.
Oh, yeah, that would have
Okay.
been good, yeah. I think she could have played both parts. She could have also played the Venerable. Socked her cheeks in a bit. Who'd have known?
Anyway,
Oh, but we're gonna have to have a Venerable Bede cliffhanger, I'm afraid.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We were on, you may recall, we were on a Venerable Bede cliffhanger. We've had correspondence about VB.
Not Venerable Bede breaking news at this stage, is it?
Well,
this
I get Venerable Bede alerts.
Of course you do.
I don't.
Oh,
He says he doesn't, Al, he does. Callum Buckham, who you may recall was mentioned, I think, in minute 6, roughly, of this show.
Oh, okay.
Because we then discussed the 39 steps,
Oh,
etc.
yes.
Anyway, Callum Buchan got in touch. There's a screen grab from an episode of The Chase this week. Even the producers gasped. She gasped because she likes The Chase.
The Chase is the Bradley Walsh
Yeah.
game show. Okay.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I thought you were going to say the Bradley Walsh vehicle, but I think everything on television is a Bradley Walsh vehicle.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Any
he's on
particular
fire.
shows you can think of, Frank?
I think he's no longer in Doctor Who.
Oh, is he
Is that
not?
right?
No, he's gone. He's
Oh.
been replaced by John Bishop.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. Okay. Anyway, Callum says, I got this question right watching The Chase tonight, entirely thanks to the Frank Skinner podcast. I'm going to read the question out, but to give you a clue, the hashtag says Mon the Bead,
Okay.
which is a rallying cry I never thought I'd hear in my
No,
lifetime.
indeed.
What was the name of the Northumbrian monk who became a saint in 1899? The three options were A, Augustine. Would you say Augustine or Augustine?
Augustine.
Augustine, good, I did that right. I mean, I worry about that. Other pronunciations I can live with, but not that one. Not
To be
with that.
fair,
I'd say Augustine.
although it's a different Augustine, there's a Bob Dylan song, I Dreamt I Saw Saint Augustine, is what he...
Oh, yes.
To me,
I-
sounds like a fruit. Oh, have you tried those Augustines? Very juicy.
So Augustine, B, Bede,
Right.
C, Cuthbert.
Oh.
Cuthbert, I don't know.
Cuthbert.
Sounds like someone I went to school
Cuthbert,
with.
what did become a saint? He was sort of Bede's mentor.
Ah.
Oh.
He's also in
This is
Durham
Mr.
Cathedral.
Miyagi
Or
of
maybe
Bede.
it's just the head. Some
So-
part of St Cuthbert.
So we have, and the contestant got it correct.
Well,
Does that
yeah.
restore your faith in
Chase?
human nature?
I thought the chase was all stuff like, name little mix.
No, I
and
think it's a
stuff.
bit harder.
No,
than
it's
you-
hard.
Oh, I don't really watch the old.
You'd be very good on The
you
Chase.
Might, you might get in on it now because you found out that it's harder general knowledge than you
quite
thought.
hard.
Yeah, exactly. Aye. It's a bit like, is it a bit like intellectual shove halfpenny? That's what the board looks like to me. That's what put me off a bit, I think.
Well, I don't like the fact that you have to play that. Who are they, Al? The people you have to play? They're
The
mean.
Chasers.
Oh, they're called the Chasers.
Okay.
They're sort of
Sure, yeah.
mean, kind of comical, exaggeratedly mean
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Mean intellect. But that's how the British public like to see people who know stuff. As sort of spiteful, arrogant people.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So we've heard from Peter Watson, and he's one of our listeners, and we've been talking about Amy MacDonald and your childhood crush on her. And Peter Watson has got in touch to say, just a little reminder to Frank that Amy MacDonald is a Scottish singer about half his age.
Well, she's 79. It's a very
Your
loose
point?
use of the word about. There's another Amy
I
MacDonald,
believe
isn't
so.
there?
Confusingly, also, is she a singer the Amy McDonald, your Amy, we'll call her. Is she a singer, actress, singer?
Well, she was certainly an actress. I remember her, maybe even early on, this was part of the attraction. She was always in the company of comedians. Because she used to, she was
Tell me
quite.
about it, dear.
She used to be like part of the whole British satire movement, but also danced fabulously. And I think she sang as well. She was one of those, all-round talent.
Triple threat.
This was in the days when people liked to see talent on television rather than people who they might see at the bus stop.
Yeah.
So, but that's gone, and it's probably for the best. I think talented people had a good run. It's about time the others had their chance. I think that's fair play. Yeah. I mean, it's the whole sort of competition winner theory. Good on him, I say. And it's given me a lot more time with my family.
We've got some Nicholas
David
Witchell update.
Nicholas Witchell update. Can I say?
Yeah.
I don't want this Nicholas Witchell thing to turn into a
Witchell one.
A Witchell hunt. Yeah, can you believe that Alan Cochrane jumped in on my punchline and said a Witchell
I didn't
hunt?
know that you were going to play the jingle. I thought you were pausing for me to fill it in. Like, I'll set it
Can't
up.
believe it. All the old standards are dying out. Go on now, what's the update?
Well, it's quite polarising depending on your politics.
There's some pro Witchell, isn't there?
I don't know enough about this moment in history, but 694 has texted, "Morning, Frank. Back in the days of the print dispute, Mr. Witchell was called Witchell the Weasel because he crossed the picket line at Wapping. My dad always shouts at the telly, Witchell the Weasel, every time he appears." And then there's some praise that I will not read. But
What, for Witchell or for us?
Oh.
No, for us.
Well, look, I don't want to drag up his past.
No. And we don't know that happened.
And also, I'm too obsessed with his present.
Frank, in other news, we've got some very exciting Beads World. I don't want to get you too excited.
Oh, go on.
There's some Mark Nixon, Beads World / Jarrow Hall. I'm just saying there's a local, there's someone with an inn. Is just a 10-minute drive from me.
Get away.
Visitor centre with an Anglo-Saxon village and farm.
Yeah, I was there.
And the ruins of the old monastery. I'm just saying, Mark Nixon is down the road if you know...
Look,
need a friend in the
I was
area.
there. What was it be about 2 years ago? I suppose 18 months, just pre-COVID.
I don't remember when you went to see Bead World.
Pre-COVID, we were both driven there by the plague. Oh no, actually, I think it was my tour manager.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
I had a present sent to me from it just says an avid reader. An anonymous gift has arrived.
That's nice.
And it's a bunch of old Elvis monthlies. Now, the Elvis monthly I used to have, it was regularly, it was like a little pocket-sized Elvis magazine with the dotted I on Elvis is a disc, a vinyl disc with a crown on top. Come on! Anyway, this person... sadly, their mother died recently, and they have found this amongst her things and sent this collection to me. So this is, for example, April 1980 copy of. Here, listen, that's it. Elvis Monthly begins with a editorial by Gordon Minto, who's furious. One area of Elvis's career interested me more than any other, and that is his recording career. Unfortunately, this is one of the few aspects of his life that his friends, and those who claim to be his friends, have chosen not to write about, preferring to concentrate their attention on sensationalising and distorting aspects of his personal life.
Thank
with
you very
one
much.
aim in mind, profit financially. Exactly. Very much. Angry
Yeah.
Elvis Monthly. But thank you very much for that, an avid reader. Aye, aye,
Who do
aye.
you think was trying to profit? Do you think it was people hanging around hotel lobbies?
Yeah,
Working.
yeah, freaks. Take your baggage up to your room.
These are excerpts, we should say, from a
Speech that Elvis did when someone in the press had suggested he was strung out on drugs.
And had he been strung out, Frank? What did he say?
He said he's only ever been strung out on music, was what he'd say. The truth is, as much as I love the music of Elvis Presley, the private life is sort of marvellous as well. Not so much bothered about the drugs, but just shooting Coke cans off the roofs of Cadillacs at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Doing karate in sunglasses and stuff.
Yeah, turning up at car crashes with a big torch. And a police badge.
Wearing a cloak as well. Wearing a cloak IRL.
I wouldn't want to lose that aspect of Elvis because I do, as much as I love the music, that part of it.
Also, I do love the fact that everyone was so fashionable and it was all sort of Kennedy and it was all... and the photo I've got seen of him is with Nixon as well, which I like that he chose the wrong president.
That he opened Nixon's drawer where he keeps his badges and souvenirs and said, what else you got in there? I got some, these guys have got girlfriends, wives too, you know. And started taking presidential merchandise out on his own. Let's not lose that, Minto.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or you can email us direct on frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Okay.
I'd like to bring something to your attention. If I asked you who Tom Hanks's hero was, I bet you'd probably pick an actor or maybe even a writer, but you'd be wrong because Tom Hanks has a hero, a man in Edinburgh called Tom Hodges who owns a bookshop. And
Tom H and Tom H. I'm liking it so far.
And they've got more than that in common. They both love typewriters. I couldn't say it then. I got so excited. They both love typewriters.
Oh, I love
Tom
typewriters.
Hanks has written to him.
Well, trying to join the gang of the THs. No, you don't, Frank. You've just said that.
I can't be a Tom H, but I have a collection. I've got 3.
Of typewriters. Oh, but you like typewriter juggling, don't you? And you can't do 4.
I've got a Olivetti Lettera 32 and an Olympia SM.
Right.
Oh, don't go all man in a bar hitting on me when you say it.
I've got quite a respectable 3-ball Cascade, and I can juggle 4. So.
I know, but now you're talking about juggling.
Yes.
Al, I don't know if you know, but Al is a proper juggler. It's a skill that is somewhat wasted on radio.
It is.
You could argue, but
I've been doing it since the start of today's show, but nobody knows.
It's a skill I've long admired. I've probably told you before that Mark Heap, the actor who was in Green Wing and also something else I can't remember, but he's a very, very funny actor, used to be in a travelling troupe called the Medieval Players, and he did some fabulous comedy juggling.
Oh, excellent.
So W.C. Field started, incidentally.
It is.
Comedy juggler. Anyway, sorry, I've digressed.
We're discussing typewriters. Tom Hanks thanked the chap in Edinburgh for, quote, keeping typewriters alive.
I hope he says Hanks instead of thanks. Do you?
That
Hanks.
would be a good typo.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
If he did that as an intentional typo every time.
Or he could.
Hanks, Tom. Hanks, comma, Tom.
Yeah. He could Tipex out the T. I mean, that's another joy of the typewriter. The old Tipex is out.
Tom Hodges.
They don't like it, do they?
Yes. Did you see? He pointed out, which I liked. He said the letter that that Hanks, comma, Tom had sent him. Mm-hmm. He was very impressed. He felt it was evidence, didn't he, Al, that he was a true sort of typewriting aficionado because he used the X's, which is the real purists.
Oh, for
go with
crossing
the
out.
X's because the Tipex interferes with the mechanics.
Brilliant.
Okay.
I went out with a woman who could do 100 words a minute. I think she could type as well.
Yeah.
But no, she could type 100 words a minute.
I mean, honestly, Frank.
And when you...
New Faces 1974.
And when, they would have got around on there. Would have got around. Honestly, she would start doing it, and it looked like, and I thought, this is going to be gibberish. First time I saw her do it, I thought she's messing around. It was still impressive, even then. And then when I looked at it, it had got sort of paragraphs and underscoring.
Wow.
I think there might have been ellipsis. Don't quote me on that.
I hope not.
I'd love to be able to do 100 words a minute.
So would I.
I've always quite fancied shorthand as well. Mm-hmm. What I need is a secretarial course.
Yeah.
Do they still exist? Are there secretarial colleges?
Well, during the enforced... when we were at home, essentially, during last year, during lockdown, I decided to teach myself to touch type.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I
but
did
not
this.
on a manual typewriter.
No. And do you know, I got very quick.
Manual
but
typewriter
still,
is that little old Jewish man that lives at the end of our road.
but still not quite as quick as I do just scattergun approach, I'm afraid.
Oh.
You see, I can never get. But I mean, it is. All the youth. I've noticed the producer. These people, they do automatically raised on the keyboard. They do. They touch type automatically, I find.
Yeah, but there's something about doing it on a manual type. The sound of someone typing that fast is unbelievable.
It is very Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, and the little ping at the end of the. Turn me on, sir. You're turning me on.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Yeah, we were on
Discussing
about
typewriters, really.
Yes, and we should say, well, you explained it really, Al, but essentially this Tom Hodges is a huge typewriter fan, and his bookshop in Edinburgh is called Type Wronger, or Type Wronger, as I would say, books. And I wanted to know, what did you two think of that as professional comics, as a pun? Because I couldn't help but feel, Al, I just worried it was the sort of thing I can imagine Frank doing what I call an Andrew Lloyd Webber on that man, and turning up saying, I've just had some ideas about how to...
well.
How do you feel about Type Wronger as a play on typewriter?
The trouble is, I can see it as a play on type. Right, I tell you what I think it might be about, because at first you think, well, I don't want to read books that have been typed wronger. But what I still use a manual typewriter on occasion, and I tell you what I really like about it is you don't get this bully, this grammar and spelling bully. Standing over your shoulder saying, I'm all right, I don't mind having my but sometimes I make words up deliberately, or I might decide, to swap something round and say something like, I don't know, like musicness, if I'm talking about, instead of musicality, and they don't like that. Yeah. And if we allow that, if we just listen to spell check and their comrades,
comrades,
we're all going to end up writing exactly the same, and that's got to stop. So so maybe type wronger means that you could write type wronger and wouldn't be corrected, it wouldn't be read underlined, and sometimes typing wronger is typing writer.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Well, that's my view. I'll tell you, next time in Edinburgh, I'm definitely checking out this bloke, though. Did I tell you, when I first started getting typewriters, I went into Ryman's and asked if they had any typewriter ribbons, just as a sort of no way. And the bloke said, hold on a minute. And he went in the back and literally, with dust on them, he bought out some typewriter ribbons. He said, we've only got 4, so I bought them all. Brilliant.
What I liked about Tom Hodges, I do think he'd be a nice friend for you. Actually.
Maybe.
And I'll tell you why.
I don't really do the friends.
No, but I don't. I think Tom Hodges is good because there's an element of gittishness which I enjoy.
Oh, well, that could be good.
He said the reason this is cool for me is not the same as it is for everyone else.
Right.
He might be a big Hollywood actor, but for me, it's just about his love of typewriters. There are a few typewriter geeks, such as Ben Elisher in New Orleans and Luke Winter, who has the Glasgow Story Wagon. But Tom Hanks gets the crown. Now, I like that he sort of lumped Tom Hanks in with Ben Elisher and Luke Winter. Just one of those guys.
People we've not heard of.
Well, there is
But
a
he
Hanks.
thinks we have, Al. He's very confident we will have.
There's a Hanks app, which is when you write, it gives you the typewriter sound and typewriter font. I have to say, I already had a typewriter app, which I think Tom just completely steamrolled with his big Tom H name, but maybe he didn't do that deliberately. Everyone I know's met Tom Hanks says he's like the nicest man in the world.
I know.
So there you go. Witchell on one hand, Hanks on t'other.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're talking about Hanks, Tom, which is how we're hoping he signs off all his communiques. And
T Hanks-esque. I'm
lovely.
guessing. I'm guessing it will
what
be.
was nice about this, well, and I did think of you, Frank, when I saw this story, was that the letter that Tom Hanks sent to Tom Hodges, thanking him for his letter, obviously he typed it.
Of course.
He said a brilliant thing whilst he was in the letter. One of the things I loved, I read this so many times, this letter. He says, I'm at it on the old Smith Corona Sterling. And I loved that he was bonding with him in the way it reminded me of. I thought, I bet that's how Frank speaks to his Doctor Who community members, that he'll say, don't know about you, just got through a marathon of the old space pirates. Is that what you say on text? Or something like that, they say.
I was being interviewed with Stephen Moffat once, and I remember the interviewer said that the name Amy had risen up the popular name charts for little girls' names because, and they thought it was to do with Amy Pond, the character in Doctor Who at that time. And I remember turning in a very smarmy way to Stephen Moffat and saying, well, Purple Gilliam didn't exactly catch on, did he? About an assistant from... I mean, I thought, come on,
that's
Frank,
good.
you're better than that, mate.
You're not, though. You're exactly that.
But you
I am
like
exactly that, you're quite right.
your friend Julian, you have a lovely friendship based on Doctor Who, don't you?
It's not just based on Doctor Who.
Oh, isn't it? Sorry.
I remember Kat saying that she thought he was too young for me to be my friend.
As a friend.
Yeah. So, okay.
I mean, I don't know the difference
30?
between
Sarah's my friend, she's young.
different typewriters. It's very niche, isn't it, the knowledge? Like, I only know the typey ones and the ones that you slap that big cartridge thing on the top.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I
Read
divide
out.
typewriters.
It's I mean, I've never really worked out what is the sort of the Les Paul or the Stratocaster. I just think you
Right.
get lucky because second-hand shops. I looked at one the other day, 99 quid in my local charity shop, but I could see the N
dear.
key. The N key was not a happy key.
Well, Tom Hodges uses the Remington Noiseless. Yeah, I believe.
Ironically, I've heard that.
I heard that he liked it so much he bought the company.
The Remington gags are flying around the
I worked with a woman when I was a teacher, and she was a fabulous typer, but she'd been to secretarial college, which she was slightly mocked for, I remember, by some of the other teachers, because she did the teacher training and then she went, and she was one of these women, like, in her files she had those different coloured tabs that stick out with writing on and that. And she told me once in a moment of when I say intimacy, we were in the staff room, that she used a different coloured paper clips to signify different topics. I mean, I felt because of her secretarial skills, she had access and a sort of right to places in the stationery shop, which I didn't feel I could really go. She was the first woman I ever saw with pink stickies. Do you remember they
Oh,
started
Frank,
out?
come
What?
on.
You did get intimate.
What? No. No, you know that yellow stickies was all the thing and that was it. I thought that was it. I thought that's it. They've coloured their stickies and that's it.
Where did you see them? In the stationery cupboard?
No, she had pink stickies.
Okay, okay.
Why do you have to see?
I just think sometimes you know.
Well, I think you need to look in the mirror, lady.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Whilst we're on the subject of
Hope it's chips. It's chips.
whilst we're on the subject, whilst we're residing in Showbiz Corner, can we also discuss Hugh Jackman, who I would say is a contender for nicest man ever?
Is he really?
Oh yes, you never hear a bad word about Jackman.
Oh, okay. I don't really know anyone who knows Hugh
I've met him
Jackman.
actually once
Oh, okay.
at an airline lounge. I won't lie, and charming, doesn't even come close.
Okay.
The man was so charming, and I knew that because I was the only non-celebrity in the room, as is often the case. And he made an effort with me, and that is how I will
That's
judge
good.
people. Thank you. Hugh Jackman had an injury this week, which might be the most brilliantly theatrical injury I've ever encountered, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
He was rehearsing for, is it The Music Man on
Oh,
Broadway?
yeah, the music man.
And he revealed a cut on his nose, which apparently he'd got from a boater, a straw boater.
Yeah, the old...
I'm going to call it, I've christened it a nasty nick.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he had tossed the boater in the air several times, and unfortunately, I think it hit him literally on the bridge.
The rim of the boater caught the bridge of his nose, and split it.
Who knew?
It's
They were deadly.
It's interesting. This is a bloke who has been Wolverine
Yeah.
in I don't know half a dozen films, and and I thought, but he's probably never hurt himself. So I looked it up. Apparently, he's covered in scars from his Wolverine claws. He used to wear them at home to get used to them. He's got cuts all over his legs. He's got a thing in his forehead. But also, what about this? He sort of forgot he was wearing them, I think, and he completely pierced one of his cheeks with his Wolverine claw. So he's I suggest he says no when he's offered the lead in the Phil the Power Taylor biopic. Which is just a matter of time, I would have thought.
What's he going to sing to?
You've got the power.
Please tell me that was his walk-on music.
That was, of course, his
it
walk-on
was.
music.
He could have gone Jennifer Rush, 'cause I'm your lady.
He told me about that. He got in a mate's car and he could feel the crunch of CD cases under his feet. You know, when you get in someone's car. And he picked them up and he said, "What's this one?" You got the power. He says, "I like this."
Crunch of sea.
He said to his mate, "I like this one. This is a good one. I might use this." And that's how Phil the Power became Phil the Power.
No.
Yeah. Now, soon to be played by Hugh Jackman. That's it. The rumour has started.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We were just talking about James Bond, actually. I remembered something. I was watching Live and Let Die last week.
Yeah.
And he's paragliding. He paraglides into this place, to be secret. And it cuts to him.
Be secret.
Yeah, it's his thing, James Bond.
The Union
Yeah,
Jack.
he likes
Secret, very secret man. And they cut to him on the paraglider thing. He's smoking a cigar. Who paraglides smoking a cigar? It's got to be dangerous, hasn't it?
And also, it might alert the security. They might smell.
Yeah, they might
smell
smoke
a
alarms.
cigar. Yeah.
Skybound smoke alarms they might have.
Well, we're talking about James Bond, which is relevant because we're also obviously talking about Hugh Jackman's boater injury, which was an odd
Yeah.
Jobbian injury.
Yeah.
That's
And,
true.
Yeah.
He's lucky he didn't have a job on Peaky Blinders because their hats have got a
They're
razor
peaky.
blade hidden in
They're
them.
very peaky.
Odd
Yeah.
job, we should say. He very much sits in the hat injury chair,
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
he?
yeah.
Odd job?
Well, he inflicted hat injuries rather
Yeah.
than received
Oh,
it.
no, of course, he didn't. He had a good life, Odd job, but then it was cut short, I believe.
Yeah.
But he,
Yeah. He was.
Frank,
Yeah.
watch it.
No, he was
He-
electrocuted. Poor old odd job.
Well, not just that, he was electrocuted, and it's a bit. I do think
He was
Goldfinger was a
hoisted.
bit unimaginative with the names because he just literally called him Odd Job. I
Yeah.
mean, is that what he did? Does he have like gardener, cleaner?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. He was very
it.
much a villain hoisted by his own petard. 'Cause he went to get the metal-rimmed hat off the electric.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'd forgotten how
Hopefully
he
that
met.
hasn't come as too much of a shock.
Sorry, I didn't know that's
very
how
good.
he'd met his maker.
I had an interesting theatrical injury. I had to bare my behind on stage every night in the West End.
I
At
thought
the,
5 times.
at the Whitehall Theatre. And I actually reacted to the detergent they washed my satin trousers in. And
dear.
I ended up with, how can I put this? My behind looked a bit like a mandrill.
Oh,
You know the mandrill monkey?
I see, yeah.
So it was like a mandrill. It was touched for the very first time. No, it was very inflamed indeed. And every time I had to bare my bottom on stage, I thought, I hope the inflammation has not yet reached a point where it can be seen from the upper balcony.
Yeah, that's not what you want in the reviews, is it?
Oh no, mandrill. Yeah, who let mandrill bomb in? I don't want that.
Yeah.
Heaviest living monkey, as I recall.
So
Quote me on that.
The Guardian.
Heaviest living monkey.
monkey. But you know what I liked when I heard this? Hugh Jackman put up a little video, didn't he, Al?
Yeah.
Telling the story, and I thought I was pleased for him because I liked HJ when I met him,
That's nice.
and I feel that if there's anything an actor loves, it's a theatrical mishap story.
Yes.
And what's good, I mean, we've all got one, dear, but what I like about this is that Brian Blessed will come in and try and own the theatrical mishap story, but this is a nice one that he's got in his little arsenal.
Yeah, and it shows the straw boat is a dangerous thing. I mean, Top
yeah.
Cat, the bridge of Top Cat's nose was like a toast rack. So watch out, kids, for those straw boater. Straw boater, of course, once the South African Minister of Agriculture. I thank you, by the way, to the reader who's signed their letter, your listener, who sent me
Most sinister sign-off ever.
who sent it. What about this? Begins, not my thing, bought in a job lot, thought you might like it. Can you guess what it is? We'll have answers next week. Okay, remind me. Okay, thank you so much for listening. You know what? If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Come on, you baggies. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.